也许他是武汉地面零星的最后一个人。
Ground Zero Wuhan.
50多人死亡。
50 more deaths.
濒临死亡的大厅。
The halls are lined with the dying.
不需要帮助。
No help is coming. Why are you whispering? This is Adrienne in San Francisco. Something is happening on the ground. This is Jana in Seattle. I can't reach my grandma. This is Brianna in LA. Something is going on. We can't handle all of these young patients coming in short of breath. Strokes. Do you know what's happening? Do you know what's happening? Do you know what's happening? What we're hearing from the White House. We're the best in the world. I just got notification that my grandmother, my mother, my sister have died. All of respiratory complications from some virus. There is no national stockpile. We have plenty of PPE. Then the next breath, we hear about seizures of the shipments by Homeland Security of this PPE. I can't find toilet paper. I can't find Lysol. They're telling me to drink Lysol, but we got some drug that may or may not help. No, that drug is killing us. I hate being Chicken Little.
我讨厌小鸡。
نенавижу быть цыпленком. أكره أن أكون دجاجة ليتلي.
But the sky is falling, y'all. I sit logging into my workstation as I do most days, checking messages from friends and colleagues from the NIH, the CDC, and a classmate working for the World Health Organization. I see these headlines. What's this news about a novel virus out of China? China virus, SARS 2.0, highly infectious, twice as deadly as the flu. False news? No, preface to an apocalypse. The news from China and the WHO was not good. We are an infectious disease or a collection of infectious disease nerds. We have dubbed ourselves the SNOT Mafia. We are all virologists, microbiologists, and medical doctors represented in those before mentioned public health departments in the US, Canada, and Europe. We're connected by our concerns for public health and fighting infection real time. I take a call from my lead public health, Renbo. Morning, how are you? I'm doing well. Listen, this morning I've received a direct communication from the DHS secretary. Wait, why is the Department of Homeland Security giving our public health department any direction? Well, a better question is why that department is giving any direction to any public health department. But it appears your writings and your crew's writings has caught the attention of that department. An immediate order to cease and desist has been issued. Your department accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram have all been blocked. The reason given is this is an effort to streamline and temper the release of information as it pertains to this Wuhan virus. Censorship? So, publishing the truth is now a threat to national security. Evidently so. No cooperation from de Blasio, no Cuomo's office. A wall of silence from downtown and Albany, which makes me think they are not aware of any of this. This means if you continue to violate this order, it will result in your immediate termination. But if I continue to use my own accounts, no information accessed directly from this office will be used for your own purpose. And it's not allowed. And again, it will result in a violation and immediate termination. But any accounts accessed through unknown emails or VPNs are not under this office's purview. Gotcha. The truth will come out eventually. Yes, light prevails, but once the light is turned on, will we see the bodies in the street? This pressure cooker is going to blow, Rainbow. We're not ready for this fallout. Yes, we're not the only ones that hears you. Be careful, okay? I will. And Katt thinks, and probably rightly so, the phone is bugged, my accounts are hacked. And then she sighs. She sends the same text to 6 different people. A nuclear mushroom cloud. This simple message sets off a stream of activity. I leave my office, leaving my personal phone and Apple Watch, donning my diamond Cartier watch my parents gave me after graduation from medical school, locking up my office. I hail a cab, taking me first to the New York Mercantile Bank, and I would make a large withdrawal. Then I would hail a different cab, taking me to the Mac store. I would discuss the configuration of a MacBook Pro that would be delivered within 2 days to my apartment. And I would take with me an iPhone 11 with an unlisted number. Next, go into the Verizon store to purchase my MiFi hotspot. Next, I would make an emergency stop to the account manager at Chase to discuss transfer of holdings to bonds, precious metals, and cash urgently. Vita Brown, my long-term financial advisor with Chase Wealth Management, complied, trusting my judgment. But when I was unprepared for was this conversation. Vita, I think you're right to be concerned. The Asian markets have been volatile as of late, so I will make that happen for you right now. But I have had several calls from your husband's lawyer and a banker right here at Chase. What about? They wanted to confirm his access to your funds. For what purpose? My husband and I signed a strict prenuptial agreement. He has zero access to my funds. Vita says, that was my understanding, but as a financial advisor for wealthier clients, they only suspected you have a high net worth. When I get these inquiries, it's usually as if a client is actively seeking funding or reorganization of debt. That's unexpected, Katt says. I will be in touch if things change. Wait, is the apartment on 5th still part of the Cooper Trust Holdings, to your knowledge? Typing on her computer. Actually, according to recent court filings, that whole real estate trust is on the brink of bankruptcy, with all properties heavily leveraged and in some type of foreclosure proceedings, including your property on 5th and the house in Montauk. Maybe this is why they're inquiring. Katt flummoxed. Maybe. Thank you for your time. Yes, I will make the trades over the next couple of days. And it's always good to see you, Katt. Katt leaves the building with more questions and more concerns, but had more work to do. Her confrontation with her husband could wait. She needed to catch him before he decamped the place on Montauk. In the next 48 hours, she and her mother meet at Starbucks, Katt assisting her in setting up her newly purchased computer and phone. She would meet with her nerd mafia crew at the Pink Dog in New Jersey that next Saturday to explain their level of nerdiness. They all considered themselves microbiology sleuths, creating dashboards and watching trends of reportable infection outbreaks on their own time. Some of their recommendations have been used in the mix for the yearly flu vaccine, but their designations were all complete nerd nutsiness. It was all the genetic material that each individual studied or researched. With MX1, G/8, SNP, piece of a receptor for the RSV virus that Katt researched. G5 147BP was from the E. coli the E. coli that Sophie, her friend from the NIH, had researched. ATCC-VR 759 was for the coronavirus 43 that Jude researched while working at the WHO. G3P8 was rotavirus research by their friend Zhu Qi at the Wuhan Laboratory in China. MA160 SSPE was Craig's designation for the measles at the CDC, and VP1-4 was Janie's designation for rhinovirus or the common cold. We all would meet at Pink's with the exception of Chu, represented by another computer. I introduced my mother as the newly inducted member, as H3N2, the genetic designation for influenza A, and they all knew of her work with the NIH, then as the public health director for the New York City Health Department. We all would create new email accounts, set up VPN accounts to hide our location, and exchange our new unlisted numbers. Katt, the de facto leader, says, "So what is the deal with the goons shutting me out of my work?" Jude of Corona 43. "All access to my work is restricted, and I'm even barred from speaking to the media." Sophie E. coli. "I have been placed on indefinite leave and also barred from speaking to the media." Katt. "So we poked the bear. This is big." Jude 43. "Word should be coming out of the WHO soon as far as guidance, and I will share that information so we can easily update our dashboard. But my friend at Hopkins will grant us early access to his with the goons trying to shut us down. I can't say anything from the CDC or the NIH will be helpful." Craig Measles. "Hey, Chu is coming through on WhatsApp. She actually sends a link which he then forwards to his email. After he opens the link in the chat box, a viewer appears, and what then appears is a series of the genetic sequencing of COVID-19. There was an animated simulation showing how the virus has a built-in process causing errors, and she actually points to that part of the genetic code that specifies that particular protein. And this makes me think, or Katt thinks, that it's going to be harder for us to create a vaccine. And then there are other products that allow it to hide from the immune system. And then there's an interferon-like protein. Interferon is a chemical that boosts the immune system response. But this is an error message where it just basically turns on the immune system and it goes wacky crazy. A perfect atomic storm, once released, is almost impossible to control. We look deeper into the data, the after script, after this simulation runs, and there's some Chinese letters with the insignia for the Chinese army. All of us then pause and look at each other, knowing that the implications, if this is coming from the Chinese military, this must be or may have been some type of man-made bioweapon with just dramatic complications. Then that's when Katt's mother speaks up. She's like, "Shit, they have no idea what they're trying to cover up." And then Katt says, "Doubtful. We got to get the word out. We got to get the information out." That's when she says that all communication we're going to have to do is through our iPhones and on these computers under VPN. We need to prepare to literally go off grid. She then turns to Greg and says he'll run point and keep in contact with you. She will have to switch it up because I believe not only is her livelihood in jeopardy, but her very life could be in jeopardy due to this potentially weaponized virus. And as we go off grid, we have to make sure that we stay alive to fight this. I will only be accessing my phone through a solar hookup. I actually am going to be in the beast over there. I got solar power, water purification system. I'm good for years. And I want you guys to consider doing the same. But I will keep in contact at the appointed time and pass on any further information from Chu. Jane of rhinovirus fame basically says, I am headed to my family's farm in New York, upstate New York, and Sophie says she's going to be headed to her family's place in Maine, at least for the time being. Katt says, my mother and I have some things to wrap up in the city, but we'll probably heading south to Tennessee before we can't travel anymore or not as easily. And Jude of Corona says, we're really doing this? Yeah, I don't think we have any choice. It's not going to be safe in any of our cities. We need to get our affairs in order and prepare to stock up for the long haul. With that, Craig hands each of them
The incident is the first clue that trouble is brewing inside the Green Hall.
5 N95 masks, and he says these are going to be worth more than gold, I think, before the end of it. Leaving the set of his podcast, saying goodbye to his on-air mates and his assistant. He grabs his gym bag and he heads to the gym for some cardio. You hear him set down his barbell. He finishes his cardio and he checks his phone. He sees urgent text from his lawyer, his cousin Rodney, and the Chase banker. Internally, he groans and puts the phone away. He then finishes up, takes a shower, and gets dressed. After leaving the shower, he notices a text from his wife, Katt. And the text reads, ? Your lawyer contacting my financial advisor? The fuck? Brian texts back, talk about it later. I'll pick up sushi. Actually, I'll get you shrimp egg foo young from Chan's and some Sing beer. Katt says okay. His phone vibrates and rings with an incoming call from his lawyer, Robert Case. So, your prenup signed by both of you is ironclad. Your current financial issues are your own. You are not listed to access any of her financial information anywhere without her permission. Brian says, I figured that. You weren't able to get any information from Chase. We both have financial services managed there. Robert, yeah, that's just it. You're managed by two different departments. You're in the consumer wealth or consumer department, and she's managed by the wealth advisory service. And they don't manage anybody with less than $50 million in assets. And she also has a separate real estate trust at New York Mercantile. Real estate trust? Yes. When she bailed out your family's property out 7 years ago, It was transferred to a trust with management and proceeds, all managed by Sloper Properties, LLC. The last year's tax records, which are now paid in full, has the property worth over $12 million. So my wife is flush with cash? Appears so, but completely protected from your or Rodney's financial issues. If you don't get her to support or co-sign on the reorganization of your debt, you will lose all of it. All of the property in the DR, Vale, your primary home at 5th Montauk. Well, Katt knows something is up, and I'll just talk to her about it later, and then I'll call you afterwards. Okay, good luck. And they disconnect. This is the same day that Katt and her SNOT crew goes underground, and she knows she's going to have something's going to have to go down, or something's going to have to give with her husband, Brian. The doorman texts her as Brian passes the doorman stand. Brian enters, hanging his coat in the closet. The apartment itself is a showpiece with ceiling-to-floor windows with expansive views of the river and the New York skyline. Everything is clean. Everything is white. And most of the room is situated with the New York skyline as the backdrop. Katt had set the table, and she poured and opened a bottle of Cabernet, allowing it to breathe, and sets out a beer glass, a frosted beer glass, especially for herself. Brian comes in, plops his briefcase on the bar, and takes the back setting it on the table. Katt says hi and then opens the bag and comments, "Oh, this smells so good." She grabs a spring roll, dipping it in the spicy mustard. Brian takes out a tray of hand-wrapped sashimi, pouring a glass of wine. Katt opens a bottle of Sing. They toast each other. They take a few more bites of food, and Katt says, "How bad is it?" Brian takes a sip of his wine. "Worse than when I first left the NFL." Katt takes a sip of her Sing. "Can you keep this place or Montauk?" And Brian says, not if I can't restructure the second and third mortgages." Third mortgages? Brian, you made millions in the NFL. The endorsements, your salary with ESPN. Where is your money? Better yet, where is your money? You're managed by the wealthy advisors at the bank and have a whole separate trust for the Tennessee property. You could stroke a check and make all of this right. You should at least sell that property in Tennessee. That should secure the property here outright. The land in Tennessee is your birthright, which none of y'all were interested in saving when the county was getting ready to auction it to sell for taxes. And if you are over $10 million in the hole, why would I float you another loan, any loan? You are what the banks call a subprime borrower. Man, I don't want any of this, and I hate Montauk. How can you hate it? It's a palace and the yacht. A bunch of pansy, vapid posers that have read nothing besides page 6. Yeah, I'm good, bro. We're going to have to head south anyways. That virus out of Wuhan is no joke. It's forecasted to be worse than the pandemic of 1918. Here we go. He rolls his eyes to heaven. The germaphobe strikes again. Go back. Why? We have a house in Montauk. That is your house. It was never my house. Remember, I didn't even decorate it. You hired somebody else. Why don't you want to go home? Tennessee has not been home for me. If you won't help, he stands up, pushing back his tray of sushi. I will figure something else out. I'm just going to go ahead and head out there now. He takes out his phone and redials his lawyer. It's a no-go. Katt sighs and rubs her face, stands at the window, and she's finishing up her beer. But the sky is falling, y'all. Thank you for joining me in this episode of survival code. And I hope you enjoyed listening just as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Stay tuned for the next episode, or episode 3, the last shift in the Not Okay Corral. And I hope you will find some solace in your day-to-day, and we all get out of this as intact as possible. I'm like one of those writers said, I don't want to go back to normal or the way things were before. I want to lean into this new normal. And thank you for listening.